Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode, edition, I'm not even sure what to call it, of People Talk. My name, and I'm hoping people know this by now, my name is Paul Lawrence, and I'm the host for the show. Yeah, I like to start off by saying how many weeks I've been going with the show, but I try not to bother anymore because we've just been going for weeks and weeks and weeks, and I've certainly lost count. Um, this week's topic has, I think, got quite a bit of attention. I'm not for any reason sure why, but it's about internet dating. But before I do that, I just want to welcome my guests who are coming in. My special guest, you'll come in muted, but you'll be able to unmute yourselves, as is the normal thing, as I make you guys co-hosts. So, Darren, hi, thanks for joining early. Janet, again, thanks. And we're just waiting now for one more of my invited guests, which obviously gives me time to do that little thing that I like to do, which is to have a little bit of a roundup of the week before we get into the meat of the matter and discuss the topic of the day. So, wow, this has been a strange week, yeah, and I can think of a number of things which you would expect me to talk about almost immediately. The orange one refusing to concede or accept defeat, um, but you know what, the orange one was never gracious when he won, so expecting him to be gracious in defeat, I think, is a little bit of a stretch of imagination. So let's leave him out for a little bit. And especially for the people who are from the UK, I think we should be focusing a lot more on what's happening here in the UK. And we've just had Dominic Cummings leaving number 10 from the front door, which is quite a nice Photoshop, and a couple of shots of him standing on the road waiting for a cab. It's all cool. So there's changes happening at number 10, and we're wondering if this will herald a change of direction in terms of their policies and how they treat people. For those of you who um, really don't care for that sort of politics, what I would suggest is that probably the most important thing to come out this week is something that should have been a little bit louder, should have been said a little bit louder. But thank you for people like Lee Jasper, who has been pushing and promoting this on social media and advising people to actually take a read. And that's the 11th report, Black People, Racism and Human Rights Report, which has come out. And it's a document which looks at the status of human rights for Black people in the UK. And I'm only up to about the first 3 pages. And all I can say is, forget about Trump. You need to read that document. If you've not read that document before, that's where you need to pay your attention to. For Kemi Vandercock, I think her name was, a couple of weeks ago, to try to downplay the impact that racism has on white privilege, and then subsequently, less than a month later, for that document to come out, which, by the way, was not written by a black activist, but it was written by MPs and members of the House of Lords from both sides of the House. I think that document deserves reading, and I suspect that maybe what we've got is a bit of hiding of that document. But you know what? We go on. I have to say a very special hello to Stella. Yeah, Stella is logged in all the way from Oman in the Middle East, and she is regularly tuned into my show. And I think it's right from below there up. I don't know what part of the real world she come from, but if she understand local patois, nothing wrong with that. Um, and I can see that all my 3 invited guests have turned up, and it's wonderful. And just for the record, everyone, the first section of the show, as is always the case, is being broadcast live. This time it is broadcast live, as I've normally said, to to YouTube, simply because over the last few days, weeks and months, I found that Facebook are getting a little bit protective over the stuff that they'll allow me to post. That's the YouTube link, which you can share with anybody out there in the land if you're on Zoom. I'm about to post it onto my Facebook page because I know there are people who will be there waiting, expecting to see it. But as I like to say, let's get to the meat of the matter. Um, I'm not going to say I've been dodging this topic, But this is a topic that people have suggested to me many, many, many times before that I should cover, I should be talking about. Um, and I've decided that this week is the week. Let me be straight with you. One of the reasons why I've avoided this topic a lot of times is because of the difficulty of getting people to speak about it honestly. Yeah. So people, I don't know, just dodged this topic. But today I have found three people, two who I know reasonably well, one who thinks he's hilarious, and the other one who thinks she's very outspoken. And so it just made sense to have this show today because these are the sort of people who I think can put a great spin on it. And my third guest, even though I don't know her personally, I got to tell you guys, the amount of enthusiasm she's put into looking forward to this show, I think we're going to have a great show as well. So I've shared with you guys the YouTube link. I've already shared the YouTube link onto my Facebook page so you can share it with other people. Please share it widely, WhatsApp, wherever. It should take you to the People Talk subscription page, Back Guy Speaking, and that's me. Let's get this on the road. Oh, okay, Stella, you're half Nigerian and half French. Okay, which half? Top half? Bottom half? Okay, cool. All right. And once more, just a quick reminder, if you're in the chat and you're worried that you can't unmute yourself, don't worry about it. Only my invited guests can unmute themselves for the first section so that we don't get too much crosstalk. But please stick your questions into the chat and I'll put them to them. All right, now enough of that. My normal process of introducing my guest has never changed and it will never change. And I'd like to, first of all, ask Janet. Janet, please, I think you're unmuted already. Introduce yourself to our viewers.
Hello, Paul. Thank you for inviting me, and hello, viewers. Great to see you too. My name, as you can see, is Janet McNish, and I've been a counsellor for 24 years. And during that time, I've been specialising in trauma and relationships. And I've also, during that time, managed 2 mental health projects. And I was a counselling service director of a counselling service. We had 20 counsellors. So I was responsible for recruiting and overseeing them. And so this has been my passion for a long time because counselling changed my own life years ago. And we know there's a stigma in the Black community about having counselling. And unfortunately, because I've worked with South London and Maudsley Mental Health Trust, I've seen majority of people, what I've seen, the majority of people that are on the wards come from Black and ethnic minority backgrounds. And I feel that, I honestly believe that if we don't talk about things when we need to, we don't find safe places to talk about things, they get so bad that we can end up sectioned or suicidal, and so I want to encourage people to not be to let go of any stigma. We'll talk about stigma again a bit later, but I just want to be a bit of an ambassador for counselling because especially that's someone that can understand your culture. It's really, really important, like one of your guests said last week, Paul. So in the past, so whilst I've been working in private practice as well as a therapist, as I mentioned about trauma and relationships, they can be connected, or they could, whatever we experience in our lives, good or bad, from childhood upwards, will affect the way we relate to people. And so increasingly, I got into doing a lot more healthy singleness and dating work, stroke ministry, about 10, 12 years ago. More of an emphasis on that. I actually went online. I'll talk about that a bit later as well. Because I cancelled my wedding 3 months before the date. We booked certain things and parents had bought tickets to fly from overseas and everything. But this is how I kind of got into this side of the work, the looking on working, online, working with singles and dating, doing a lot more of that. I have workshops. So I really want to bring together some of the experiences I've had as a person, as a therapist, but also as how I've helped individuals in my private practice and with the groups I've run. So some of the mistakes I've made myself, and they've been very painful and very embarrassing. So if I can help anybody today to not go through some of what I've been through, or even to you may have been through it already, but just to go a different way in the future, that's what I'm happy to do. That's what I'd like to do.
Painful and embarrassing. I think that brings me to Darren. Hi, Darren. Unmute yourself and introduce yourself, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Darren Griffiths. I am, I guess, publicly more known as a stand-up comedian and podcaster. And private life, I work as a chartered accountant, also a mentor at 100 Black Men of London, and invited myself onto onto this, seeing Paul and Sadell talking about internet dating. So I thought I'd be able to provide some input through, I think, having relative success with internet dating, and maybe a male perspective as well on this crazy world that is internet dating.
Absolutely. Darren, I was very happy when you agreed to be on the show, because typically the men, I don't know what it is with men, but we tend to hide away from the fact that we do this. And that's probably one of the things I want to explore. My third guest is no stranger to the show. Yeah. And I'm hoping that this time she will admit that I gave her sufficient notice. She has consistently lambasted me for what she calls inadequate notice. But I'll say no more. Please introduce yourself, third guest.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Sadell Stewart, otherwise known as Comfort. And yes, Paul, you need to give people notice. You can't tell them 3 days before a show, yeah, join me on Sunday, like people that have calendars and lives. So it's nice to be here amongst beautiful people. Thank you for having me. And I am not a professional in the way that Janet kindly elaborated on what she does. I am a serial internet dater. I've used most of the platforms with very minimal success, and it's a topic, relationships are a topic close to my heart anyway, and I like to tell stories, and so they make for great stories. But most of the time, the experiences I've had on internet dating don't result in a date, but they make great stories anyway. So I'm interested to hear other people's experiences and share some of my disastrous introductions, shall we say.
Look, I'm gonna stick with you for the moment, yeah? Because first of all, and I'm very serious about what I'm gonna say. Thank you for your honesty. Yep.
Yeah.
Because right now, my inbox is filled with people saying, "Oh, Paul, I'd really love to come on the show, but..."
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking at now, and I won't out her because I've known her for a very, 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 very long time. Yeah. She's a good friend of mine. And, people are just saying that they just can't feel like they can come forward and talk about this. So I thank you, and I know you well enough to know you'll be honest, if not brutally so, with it. So give us, let's just go for juice. Bad experience number one.
The overarching bad experiences start with a lot of men on social media, as well as online dating, just can't grasp the English language. We just start there. We're at odds before we've even begun. They can't structure a sentence. They don't use grammar. They don't use punctuation. So already from the get-go, I'm already put off before we even began because I don't understand the message. Where are we going? What are you talking about? How are you? What are you doing? WYD? What?
So you don't even get past the first intro?
Sometimes, not even past the first intro. Sometimes we might start having a conversation. The conversations hit a wall very quickly. People have lost the art of how to structure a conversation. So one person sends an introduction message, which generally, if it's a dude, he'll say hi, hello miss. Don't know what that's about. That's quite common. That's how it will start. And I find if I initiate a conversation I will look through someone's profile and I'll find an anchor to start the conversation. So something they've said that I'm going to use as a prompt. That doesn't happen the other way around, ever. And so then a guy will ask a question which they would have known the answer to if they'd read your profile. Bizarre. But then you think, okay, you know, maybe I'm being too particular, and you start to make excuses for why you should keep going and giving this person a chance. And then it just goes downhill from there.
And so are you saying to me that actually your female intuition is on point, and from the moment you start to think I shouldn't go any further, you should have stopped right there?
Yeah, most of the time.
Wow.
Pretty much.
Wow. I can
and
see
if it does...
No, go on.
Janet's nodding. And if it does end up in a conversation that goes back and forth, it nearly always gets to a point where you have to actually categorically say to somebody, tell me about yourself, or ask a question or something that they need to be spoon-fed and handheld just to have a basic conversation. And then people either get defensive and say, it's just a brief conversation. What do you want to know? So that's so broad. You tell me what you want to share. And it just hits a dead end. People just then disappear, because why are they going to put in effort that they don't want to? But I think the fundamental issue is, and I'm going to generalize, the majority of men are on dating sites looking for casual link-ups. Women are on dating sites, particularly of a specific age, looking for relationships. And so we are always going to be mismatched before we even started.
Is that where the problem lies, Janet? Is that the great starting point of the problem with it, that there is a mismatch in expectations? And I'm going to add one more thing before you chip in. Have we actually lost the art of conversation anyway? And so what conference is trying to pull out of people is conversation, and we don't have those anymore, do we? They're not fashionable.
Yeah, good point. Have we lost the art of conversation? Yes, we have. I think we have lost it. We are brilliant at texting. Well, I'm still a bit slow because I'm of a different generation. But yeah, I think we've got too lazy. We just got too lazy, and we want everything too instant. And we as people, we tend to put more effort into looking for a job or somewhere to live, or I don't know, something we want to buy, an item of clothing or shoes. I keep talking about shoes. Then preparing ourselves for potential healthy relationship and marriage. And I think because we've got such a fast going society, we tend to apply that to the meeting people as well. And it takes time, and it's kind of hard work. It is work. We need to, and we value what we invest our time and energy into. So I think a lot of us have got very lazy, and implicit in the situation, the talking about online dating, is there is a bit of a stigma of that. There's an ambivalence. There's like, I want to meet somebody, but I don't know how to meet them, where to meet them. Oh gosh, let me go online then, because I don't know what else to do. And I think that we have a kind of a bit of a hope, but we also remember our bad experiences, but we don't know what else to do. And especially this time, now we're in COVID, how else do we get to meet people? Because we're not allowed out, are we? Much. So what's your other question? Sorry, I missed your other question.
Well, first question about the art of conversation, but I also want to talk a little bit about that mismatch of expectations.
Yes. Yeah, there are some men and some women, actually. Okay, it does seem to be mostly men. Bear with me, guys. Mostly men, that more men that are looking for a hookup than women, but there are some women as well that are just looking for a hookup. They're like, I like my life, I've got my own house, I'm sorted, and I just want to have a bit of fun with somebody. This is in all different contexts, and there are people like that. There are probably more men that are doing that than women, and the women, yes, of the women in my groups and my friends, we're looking for serious relationship and for ultimately for marriage, a healthy, godly marriage. And now with that is with that I've also I've actually met some very nice men that are very serious about having relationships. And I have met some really nice men, some good men. But it may be that their own vision for their life doesn't match with mine. You know, somebody might want to go and be a minister in the middle of throughout African nations. I like towns and cities. So, you know, there are certain, if you can't agree, you can't go the same direction. But I have met a number of nice men, you know, good men, and like men don't like being called nice, but some really good quality men.
Myself and Darren, we like to be called nice.
Okay.
I don't mind being called nice, it's fine.
Brilliant. Okay.
Absolutely right. So Darren, let me ask you, Darren, what's your experience? What you know, the ladies have already told us what they bring to the table. What's your experience of internet dating?
Yeah, I think definitely the discussion about the mismatch, I'd say, is relatively true. I think as a guy, you can go onto these internet dating things and look for something very casual and find that relatively easily. And I think the moment you then, it's almost for men, it's the moment you decide, do you want a relationship? You can then just find one. It's almost like just shopping in a different part of a shop or a shopping centre. It's like you're there, I'm there for sportswear, for fun. Now, actually, I need a suit. I need something serious now. So you just go to shop, you just change your outlook and go, right, I want something serious. And the market, to talk in crude terms, it is like a market. The market is there. There are so many women there looking for something serious that if you are a guy that has just the basics about you, in the sense of being able to hold a conversation, have a decent job, don't live at home with your parents, be able to drive. So just kind of the basics. You've already got like a captive audience of women there that you can select from.
Repeat that criteria for me.
Well, if you could drive, you don't live with your parents, have a decent job, tall. I happen to be 6 foot, so I had that on my profile. So things like that, and then especially if you even go more specific in the sense of race. So being a black man on there, I think it's almost assumed if you're a black woman, you like black men, whereas if you're a black man, it's not necessarily assumed you like black women. So being a black man on there who likes black women as well, again, it's like, oh, I've got this, again, it's more of a catch that I'm a black man who likes black women. So it was relatively easy in that sense. And it's only when I never thought of that as anything special, but it's only when I went on friends' profiles, like women's profiles, and saw where like the other way round, and seeing that there were guys there who I was just like, wow, is this the competition? So this is dreadful. And I'd see their inboxes and see the messages they were getting from men, and I'm like, okay, this is why women seem so shocked when I would send a message that was quite coherent and was like a full sentence and engage in it as a conversation. I was like, okay, this is interesting.
Am I right, Darren, in saying that you had success with internet dating?
Definitely. As you see on my hand there, yeah, I met my wife through Tinder, actually. So that's.
So hold on a second. I was warned against Tinder. I was told I shouldn't go near it with a barge pole, and I should stop mentioning it on my show.
Of course, it does have a stigma to it, but like I said, it's as a guy, as a man, it was easy. You're definitely in the driving seat. If you did want to go on there for something casual, it was there. But if you want to go on there for something serious, that was there as well. And so, I think you can quickly. I think for me, I just changed my outlook of what I was looking for. So if I was looking for something more serious, then I probably would take much more time looking at someone's profile, like Sadell said, and you'd actually be able to find something out about them on their profile. You see there's a picture of them. That you think, oh wait, is that Amsterdam they're in? So that would be your opening thing. You'd say, oh, is that picture, are you in Amsterdam? When did you last go? There you go, you've got a conversation now. You're now talking about something relevant rather than just a random question like, hey babes, or where does that conversation go? Like, so yeah.
It's funny because one of the things, and first of all, congratulations. I remember when you got married. Yeah, congratulations for that. Do the matching services work? So all of the so-called science, yeah, and I guess this question is towards Sidel and Darren more, and Janet will come to your history and your memory. Does it work? Does the matching technology work? All the if you go onto the site, say you have these 30-page forms that you're supposed to fill out initially to try and give the software an idea of what you're looking for, to give you matches and so on. Do they work, or are they come up empty?
They can work. I think that they have a great filtering process. They work on keywords. The algorithms can do their thing. The challenge is they all work quite differently. So like Darren mentioned, Tinder, for the uninitiated who's never tried it, Tinder is one where you swipe left and right, which is probably one of the first where you could do that literally. But then you're literally going on 95% looks, because underneath that you've got a name, an age, which both could be fake, and you might have a sentence for a bio, literally like, I don't know, 60 characters. So there's nothing else to go on, and you're going completely on looks. If you're on a site called Bumble, that was made for women to be able to initiate the interaction and to lead. So the woman has to swipe on the person first to say they're interested, and then the man kind of swipes on the same, and then the woman has to send the first message. The man can't message first. That for me was a bit of a naughty. I like men who lead. Didn't work for me. It came off there pretty quick. Then you got OkCupid, which I thought was a great site. Gave you a lot of opportunity to filter. So I was able to choose that I only wanted to talk to Black men, which a lot of sites don't allow you to do, which was a huge bonus. Then you've got something like Hinge, which I found quite painful. Plenty of Fish, which everybody considers as a meat market, and is where you find a lot of older people who you're like, oh, too close to my dad's age, that's never going to work. So
how old is your dad?
My dad's young, he's 61, so that's a problem. So ultimately, there are different ways that the apps work in order to match people. You've just got to be patient. And a lot of people, like Janet already said, don't have patience. You've got to filter, you've got to be willing to talk to a lot of people. Like somebody in the chat has said, it's a numbers game, it's a lot of averages. How many people are you willing to have a conversation with until you find one that is actually worth pursuing and putting more energy into? And
how is that? I'm listening to this, yeah, and the underwriting question that I have about internet dating, and I'm not asking anybody to answer yet, is why the stigma? And the reason why I have that underlying question is because I'm listening to what you're saying, listen to what Darren is saying, and it's no different from face-to-face. It's exactly the same. So I'm a little bit confused, but tell me something, Comfort, before I move to Janet.
Yeah.
What drove you to use it the first time?
I used to be on an app called FacePick. Long before Facebook, there was an app called FacePick. It was very similar to Facebook, but also quite similar to Plenty of Fish, in my opinion, in the way that it works, the functionality of it. So by the time internet dating came around, I'd already tried speed dating, which I thought was a lot of fun. And so internet dating just seemed like the next new thing to try. I'd never had a stigma. And I'm really surprised that on this day in 2020, I'm hearing you say that there is still a stigma around internet dating when we spend so much of our lives on the internet. It doesn't make sense to me.
Interesting, because one of the things Stella has said about in the chat is that internet dating is like looking for a job. You need to be consistent, you need to properly engage, and you need to be patient. And I remember a couple of weeks ago when I did a show on relationships, and I did a show on love and relationships. One of my speakers said that you need to move with intent. And that was met with a lot of challenge.
Really?
It was met by a lot of challenge that actually you would be actually moving with intent, and especially from a woman's point of view. Yeah, and that's just something that I remember. Janet, let me ask you, personal question. What brought you to one of the sites first time?
I actually spoke on a radio show with somebody who runs a Christian online site, and I thought, oh, you're just an ambulance chaser trying to take advantage of us people. And at the end, she asked me if I'd write a workshop for her clients, and I wrote a workshop in the end, and I ended up writing for them. And I just thought, so I had a closer look, and I thought, oh, actually, and I spoke to this person. I thought, I actually do genuinely care. And I thought, well, I'm not meeting anybody. I'm not meeting anyone in church. I'm not meeting any. I meet people out and about sometimes, but I thought, well, let me try this. Oh, actually, what first alerted me to it was a friend of mine, my colleague's wife, who was 70-something-year-old lady, 72-year-old lady, Auntie Katie. She said she gave me some brochures about online dating. And at first I was like, no way. People must think I'm desperate. Yeah, I had the stigma in my mind as well. And she said, well, yeah, think about it. You know, this is a modern way of doing it. And I thought it was a bit of a flip because this old lady was telling me how to do this thing. Anyway, so I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. And at the beginning, it was awful. I didn't know what I was doing. But as time went by, I learned how to be more efficient with things. But yeah, I wanted to meet someone. I wanted to meet someone that was compatible, that we could be walking the same direction. So. And I just thought that this would give me more options.
And did it?
Yes, it has. Yes, I feel people say it's a numbers game, and yes, we do need to be patient and consistent and strategic and intentional. Intentional, not desperate. Intentional. If I'm looking for a job, I'm not, self-employed. But if I was looking for a job, I don't just want any job anywhere. I want something that's going to fit in with where I plan to go with my life. And, where's that company going? Do I want to be with that company? Where is this gentleman going? How am I going to support him in what he's doing? If he wants to go in a totally different direction, doesn't mean there's something wrong with him, but if we can't agree, then how can we walk together? So for me, I found it's given me more options. I've learned even more about what I want or what I don't want. It's given me a choice, given me more choices. And yeah, I've met some good people, met some people that I wouldn't recommend to anybody. And there are others, there's just, but it gives us a choice. It gives us much more choice.
When you said, go for it.
I was going to say, listening to Janet, it makes me feel like when you're approaching online dating, you're almost treating it like a business. You are looking to qualify leads. And once you find the leads and you work out, okay, whether those ones are worth investing energy and time in, are they going to convert? That's the bottom line. If not, then you've got to move on quickly. You can't waste your energy and time.
I'm going to be honest. I'm gonna say that sounds a little bit clinical, doesn't it?
That's life.
I think you do need that part of that attitude, though, because there are just so many people. I think that's the difference between internet dating and, I guess, real life. Is in real life you wouldn't talk or even look at that many people in that amount of time. I think maybe that's almost a downside of internet dating is, well, especially for guys, I think is so much choice means that men always think there might be something a bit better if they just swipe again and just swipe again. And I'm talking to this one, she's nice and she's cool, but she lives in Lewisham and that's kind of far for me to get to right now. So if you just sweep again and okay, this one, she lives around, and it's just, you can just pick something wrong with each profile if you want to. And then you just go, right, so you just keep swiping. You go on a date, so you're like, right, I've got another date lined up later on in the week. So I like this woman here that I'm sat right opposite, but I've got another date later on in the week and I've got another one in 2 days' time. And it's like, so. And
everybody knows that when men have too many options, we get confused. That's just our major problem in life. When we have too many options, we get confused. It's I'm not letting the side down, Darren.
No, you're not.
we both know it's true. One of the questions that I've seen in the chat, and I'll stick with you, Darren, just quickly. Sure. Fake profiles.
Right.
Profiles that are either deliberately fake because the site is buffering the site and they're trying to make up numbers, but also people who are just absolutely fake.
Yeah, I think I'll talk about the second ones, because the first ones, yeah, you have these weird Russian chatbots that are on there, just like, hey, sexy, do you want good time? You're like, what? And then it's like, give me number, meet me at this place. Like, okay, this isn't a real profile. Let me just get rid of this.
They're not real.
Yes. So you have these weird profiles like that. But yeah, fake people, I guess. Yeah, I guess you can find that. Or maybe, again, it depends what I was looking for at the time, how quickly I could find that out. So if I was in that mode of, I don't really mind who I talk to, almost really dating without any intent, just, okay, I find this person attractive, whatever. It'd probably take me much longer to work out the person isn't that genuine of a person, but maybe I don't really care because I'm not really trying to get to know that person. But if it's a thing of, I'm dating with intent now, I'm actually looking for someone to actually settle down with, I think just the questions I ask in an initial conversation anyway would probably scare someone off if they are trying to be fake, or it'd be quite kind of hard to fake what I'm, an answer to what I'm asking.
Wow. Comfort. How are you handling those fake profiles? How do you know a profile is fake? What's the big hint for you? And I'm not talking about the ones that are set up. I'm talking about the guys who are not genuine. How do you know? What's the first alarm bell for you?
For me, inconsistency. I'm very detail orientated. I'm having a conversation with somebody and they say something, and then another time something they say doesn't align with what they said previously, then I kind of note that pretty quickly. And it might be just a case of, okay, let's see where this goes, because you're trying to be a general and I'm not here for it. So we'll keep chatting, and then within a couple of conversations, it will become clear that the person's not serious. And I'll just be honest and say, do you know what, actually, I don't think you are somebody that I feel aligned with. I'm just going to call it a day. Take care. See you later. The other day, I was having a conversation with somebody, and conversation was okay. He felt a little bit too eager. That can also be a bit off-putting. Like, it's like, whoa, what's the rush? Like, always wanting to be on the phone 24/7. Like, we've got lives, we can have a conversation, that's all cool. And then just your spirit just tells you when something is not quite right.
Your spirit just not take them.
Yeah, just something. And then I saw photos, and he had extensions. I was so confused. Like, I could hear my mum in my head saying, stop being so judgmental. And I'm like, I'm allowed to be judgmental in this scenario. If it's someone's a potential mate, and then we spoke, he wanted to do a video call. And I'm not a fan of video calls. Guys tend to want to do video calls early because they're so scared of being catfish. I'm like, who's got time for that? All right, cool. We did a video call. His hair was relaxed.
Wait, listen, he may not have started his natural hair journey yet. We're not shaming men.
Yeah, come on, stop shaming men.
Hey.
The man hasn't started his natural hair journey, as Darren said,
No.
We're allowed to have choices about how to wear our hair.
Yeah.
We can. But you know what? In the same way that men like to go and like, they're not dating a woman that wears so much makeup, they don't want a woman whose hair's fake and she just take it off before she goes to bed. I have that same autonomy too. I don't want a man who's sitting on a video call, finger combing his hair, talking about, oh, my hair's longer than yours. Of course it's longer than mine. I said, is your hair chemically straightened? And he kept saying, your face. And I felt so bad because my face was saying a lot that I wasn't verbally saying. And I said, do you actually straighten your hair? Because I was so dumbstruck.
What was this? Was this 1976?
Last week, my friend. So he said he uses straighteners. I said, you mean GHDs? The things that you press your hair? He said, what does that mean? I said, Caribbeans call it pressing, like you old school hot comb. I said, you plug in the straighteners, you put them into the electricity supply, you turn it on and you wait for it to heat up, and then you run that through your hair. He said, yeah. I said, okay. It's been really nice talking to you. You take care.
Janet, I have to ask you this. So one of the things that Comfort mentioned was about people who want to video call too soon. Yeah, I would have thought that would be the opposite. You know, we've heard a lot about, you know, the word, I think someone used it in the chat, catfishing. Yeah. So I would have thought, obviously I know nothing, that somebody who's happy to video call is hiding less, is what I'm saying.
Yes, it depends on whether they rehearsed or not. But on the whole, yes, I would encourage a video call. What I would prefer is, one of the things about online dating is it should be called online opportunity to meet more people than you would normally meet in your everyday life, except for that's too long a title. So we call it online dating. And the purpose of that is, it's, you know, it gives you those options. You can, but I would say within a day, within 3 or 4 exchanges back and forth in terms of writing, I'm not looking for a pen pal. And if you stay with a pen pal, you can end up just writing. There's some people that guys just like writing to women, and they cut and paste and everything, and they just like writing women, but not interested in necessarily meeting somebody. So what I would do is I would encourage them to invite me for a phone conversation. And if you're panicking about giving your phone number out, you can always go get a burned phone, one that you can just throw away, a separate phone.
That sounds like drug dealer business.
It's useful for this. If you're not comfortable about your number being out there, get a burned phone or use Google Voice. I haven't tried it myself, but I've heard it's very good. You can use your same number, but it gives a different number, and it's free on Google Voice, and you can use you can send and receive messages safely without your own number or location being given away.
Because that's the fear, isn't it? The fear is around your security.
Yes.
Yeah, and I totally understand that. Do these sites not have that technology built into them?
Well, to a certain extent they do. Well, the free ones generally have less security built in. The ones where you pay, one of your subscribers, Paul, said, I'm surprised that people this day and age is actually paying to go on online dating when you can meet people through Facebook and other social media sites. Well, that's great. Yeah, you can, but I would only go on a paid site, because they have more security built in. I want to know there's a person behind it, or before I sign up anywhere, I want to know what happens if somebody dodgy, if something dodgy happens, if someone isn't keeping the ground rules of the rules and regulations, in terms of respect, and different websites will have different criteria and standards. So I want to know what would happen if somebody broke the agreement of using the website. I also what makes a difference is the quality of your profile. But the websites have a certain amount of algorithms where they can check. They have systems where they can check if they can check whether that person's profile has been used in a number of places. But I don't really go into that. What I do is if I'm not sure, here's a clue thing. If someone seems too good to be true, they usually are.
Counts me out then.
Yeah, same as me.
Darren.
I had that said to me a few times. just so harsh for us. But Darren, I want to ask Darren something. So, sure.
Of course, you have the right to tell me no. This is none of your business.
Sure.
When did it switch? You're now married to her.
Sure.
You've done the right thing. Well done. Big up, respect. Yeah. Fire bond for all those. It's a black man. No one commit. When did it switch for you? When did you say, you know what, this sister?
Well, again, it's about that dating with intent thing, right? So for me, I say when I'm single, when I was single, I'd go through phases. And so say if I've just come out of a relationship, it would be leave me alone. No one talk to me at all. kind of thing. Don't talk to any women. No, I'm just focusing on all the things that I couldn't do because I had too much time. I'd had too much time taken up with my ex. So now I'm playing football more and hanging out with my friends more. Then it gets to a stage where it's like, right, I want to be casual, with some women, but don't want anything serious. I don't want anything serious because I've just come out of a relationship. So, you know, I have desires. So I don't think serious. And so I would be in that mode. So then when I met my wife, I was already in maybe like a 4 or 5 month stage of I'm actually dating with more intent now. So I'm not really meeting up any women from these websites who I don't really feel like I'd actually be really compatible with anyway. And so it'd be quite relatively short conversation. Let's meet up as soon as possible because I don't want to waste my time. Let's meet up as soon as possible, see how we are actually in person. And then if I like you enough in person and we vibe off each other, I'd probably send a message after that date to say, hey, let's meet. I'd usually arrange a second date on the first date. And in that time between, I'd probably drop a message to say, you're the only person I'm actually talking to now. So it'd be good if you did the same. And then they would usually reciprocate that. Whether they were doing it honestly or not, don't know. But I knew I was. So that's what happened with my wife. It was a thing of met her online on a Thursday. I already had a date with someone else planned for the Sundays. This is before I'd even knew my wife's profile existed. Already had a thing planned on Sunday, but from messaging my wife from the Thursday and the Friday, I could already feel myself being like, I'm not really that fussed about this date on Sunday. This date on Sunday is it's an obligation. It's like I've got to do this date because I've arranged it. And then I thought, well, if I'm feeling like that about this date, I might just cancel the date. And that's what I did. So I just cancelled the date. So I had the date booked with my wife for the following Saturday. So I said to her, could we meet this Sunday? And then she was like, oh, okay, I thought you weren't free. And I just told her, it's like, well, this is basically what happened. I had the date booked, but, I wasn't keen on it. So we call if you want to go out on the Sunday. So we met on the Sunday, end up meeting on the Friday. And then what would have been our originally planned first date was our third date by that time. So, yeah, and after the first date, I'd said to her, I'm not talking to anyone else. So it'd be good if you just, did the same.
I don't know if you can see Comfort's face, but she's just beaming. She's just so happy.
I'm skinning teeth. I'm happy, but there's a line that Darren used which made me go,
What's
the
that?
idea that I'm not speaking to anybody else. It would be good if you do the same. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Why not?
I can imagine.
Why not, Comfort?
It's a beautiful thing because men do the claiming, let's be honest, right? So if a man puts it out there that he's not talking to anybody else, he's talking about you, and he's talking to you one, and he's interested in you one and seeing where this goes, that's a beautiful thing. But I feel like there's always a moment where it's like, okay, let's draw a line there. You've stated your intention, that's a beautiful thing, but to slightly overstep that line by saying, I think you should do the same is slightly too strong for me.
Janet?
That's alarm bells. Alarm bells are ringing for me.
Yeah, I'm with you, Sidel. I think that bit about, he can say what you can say what you want to, and it's nice to know that you were very serious. And I've even been proposed to on the first date, which was like a bit too early. Obviously, I said no. But yeah, I wouldn't be obliged to, because men generally tend to know quicker than women who they want to be with. Men decide really quite quickly. Ladies, if you're seeing a man for like a year or 2, 3, 4 years and he doesn't know if he wants to be with you,
you don't want to be with you.
He doesn't. Let's take time to get to know each other. Sorry, let's take time to get to know each other, babe. No, you've had time. Yeah, men usually know. Men usually know 3 to 6 months.
We know early.
If not sooner. If not sooner.
We do know early.
We take longer because there's all stuff about security, subject to the age we're at and everything. Is it going to be a good father? How secure are we going to be? All of this stuff. We just take longer because we just take longer.
But one of the comments is about, but don't women want a man who leads?
Oh yes, and it's fine. Yes, women do
Just,
want.
just don't ask you to follow.
No, you can. No. But not insist.
Yeah, you can ask.
Not, you can ask. It's good. Feel means ask, but
Yeah.
not insist. If someone said that to me, I'd say, thank you that you feel that way. I need a bit more time, if you don't mind. I just want to get to know you a bit better before I can make that decision. But let's see how it goes. I'm enjoying
It's
it.
because you never dated a guy like me. You see, that's why. You see,
There we are.
the date made a decision.
And you're not going to.
No, that's
No,
because
because
the date
not.
made a decision for my wife. That's what. No,
So
but
here's
I
a
think because I
question,
spoke
Darren.
genuinely, that's why. I think I can understand that, because I imagine women will hear a million promises on dates and a million promises in messages as well. So to have a guy say, I'm not talking to anyone else, even just that line alone, I can imagine it might be met with some skepticism if a guy was to say to you, I'm not messaging anyone else. But yeah, I've just felt like, I didn't, by the way, I didn't tell her she shouldn't be talking to anyone else. I said, I'm not messaging anyone else.
It would be good if
it would be
you
good.
could do the same.
Yeah, it would be good if you did the same. That's not a demand. That's, if anything, that's almost, no.
It's passive aggressive. It's a passive aggressive statement.
You can take it as passive aggressive, but I would say that it's actually more of a sign of vulnerability. I've actually told you I'm not messaging anyone else.
Yeah.
It would be good if you did the same. It's almost like a plea to say it'd be really good if you didn't do the same. Remember, it's worked out for me.
It hasn't worked out for me, so I should probably take what you're saying.
And when he says it's worked out for me, he holds up the ring.
Wedding ring, I know. It's just a little. It just feels slightly, and I'm being honest, and this is going to sound harsh, but it feels slightly controlling. There's just something in it that says, I've made this decision for me, and I'm making this decision for you, and I'm putting it out there, and I'm dressing it up as, this is me putting my heart on my sleeve. And it's like, yeah, I do get that, and that's a beautiful thing, but allow me to make that decision because I came to that decision for myself. Not
I guess the way to look at it, is that it's horses for courses. Clearly, it worked for his wife.
Yeah, exactly.
And we have to, and I think one of the key things for us to understand, and I think everybody does understand this, that what works for one person doesn't work for the other person.
Sure.
And what will remain attractive and remain something that's not a red flag for one person is fine. What I do want to ask though, and Janet, tell us a little bit this: is there an optimum time between that first physical date? I mean, let's forget the pandemic, because the pandemic is longing out things. Is there a time that you lose the momentum if you wait too long, too much chat, too much talk, too much telephone, and you don't make that face-to-face link? My theory in my head is that if you have too much telephone time, I think it builds expectations that sometimes don't. I'm just talking from my own experiences. What do you think, Janet?
Yeah, I think it can be dragged out, and it's best not to drag it out. Once you're interested in it, timing wise, I'd say meet as soon as possible. Meet as soon as possible, within a week or 2 weeks if you can. Have that when you realize you're writing back and forth to each other, 3-4 exchanges both ways. Then have a telephone conversation, see how that goes. If that's going really well, it's like, wow. And short telephone, don't keep it long, no long thing, no hour, 2-hour conversation. That person hasn't earned your time. You've got things to do. So although you might want to talk for longer, just try and keep it short, 20 minutes, 30 minutes tops in that first conversation. And then if that's going really well, and I guess it would be if you stay that long, if it's going really well, then arrange next time to have a video call. And then you can tell, when you can see someone's eye contact, see how they react to certain questions that you ask and how they, the views on things. You can see a picture paints 1,000 words, and you can see so much more about them. But you can do all of that within a week, in less than a week, and then meet the week after. I think it's a good idea, because like you said, Paul, you can end up with this fantasy of what this person's like. And as you're speaking with each other, it's important to realize as well, to be aware that when we meet, there might not actually be a chemistry. We might get on, but it might be just like, actually, there's not a connection as I thought there would be. And it may be that we be friends. If, some people say men and women can't be friends or whatever, I don't know. But it's the sooner the better, because once you get to meet each other face to face, even through the pandemic, with your mask, see each other without, on screen without your mask. And then, when you see them in real life, that's another conversation, 6 foot apart and all that. But
really? Really? Is that still going on?
We're not allowed out.
I live in South London. We're not abiding by none of that.
Yeah. Well, that's the rules, isn't it? So we decide what we're going to do. But yeah, it's better to meet sooner rather than later. And once you've met, because remember, it's about meeting someone to see if how you might get on in real life. So once you meet them in real life, until you meet them, they're still a stranger. Then hey, South London, yeah, me too. Then they're still a stranger, and that's when you really start to get to know them. But during the pandemic, you've got a bit more time to talk in more depth about certain things. Dating is about data, gathering data, information about each other, learning about each other. And there are strategic questions you can ask and learn, to get under the surface about certain things.
Give me a strategic question.
Yeah, okay, I normally share this with my girls. This will work for both. Just things like, what are your plans? Don't ask someone for their 5-year plan. Don't ask for the 5-year plan. Just kind of where are you hoping to go in your life? What are your desires, your hopes, with your work, your ministry, your business, whatever you want to do. Find out about that. If so they say, I want to start my own business one day. Oh, really? That's interesting. And what do you want to start it in? I don't know, just anything, just in my own business. Okay. Any ideas? No. Are you doing anything about it? Researching? No. What about the job you have now? Is that helping you towards what you want? No. Like, I don't know if I even want to meet you. What are we going to talk about? Where are you going? Yeah. Are you going to lead me into a ditch? Yeah. So that's one strategic question. A woman as well. A good question. Okay. This is. You could say. Just ask about what makes you really happy. What makes you really happy, joyful, relaxed, and talk about all these happy things, and then encourage that conversation. And then later you had to talk about that, and then maybe later have you been in jail? Someone's been in jail. That's a pretty strategic question. Yeah.
I think me and Comfort cross
had an argument
question.
About this.
I think me and Comfort cross swords about that question once.
Yes, we do.
You remember that?
Yes, I do.
Because my
attitude, a very heated debate.
My attitude was, that's rank.
No, it's not.
You can't step to Mr. Lawrence's son. If I've been in jail.
That's your ego talking. That's your ego.
Yeah.
As a woman, it is. Men love to tell women that they should know when something terrible happens in a woman's life at the hands of a man. Men are very, very quick to tell us how we should have vetted the person, we should have known better, we shouldn't put ourselves in situations. But then when we talk about the safety measures that we go through, the criteria that we use, we get lambasted for it. Can't have it both ways.
And I remember what my response was. My response was, if I have, I'm gonna lie.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But that says more about your character. You're revealing your layers.
But nothing's been revealed because we're married.
It has.
We're now married. We've got 16 kids.
You think we're going to get married, and I don't know that we're going to get married, and I don't know that you've been to prison. Are you high? Never in this earth. Never. You've told me that you've never been to jail. I'm then going to do my due diligence and find out if you've ever been to jail. I'm not taking your word as gospel.
Just do it anyway. Just do it anyway. Oh. I don't know. I felt mortally wounded. I remember this conversation so
because
well.
you internalized it, and it wasn't. It's not about you.
I thought it was harsh. I thought it was harsh.
You could have been jailed because you didn't pay your council tax. It's not that deep. Relax. Getting all your feelings for what?
I'm hurt. I can pay my council tax. I can pay my council tax. Go on, Comfort.
So delightful panel of people, including myself,
Yep.
which is great. You have a man who is married as a result of being on a dating site. You have Janet, who is a specialist in dating. You have myself, who's just jaded from dating online. But what I've noticed, and this is common, and it might be what you said at the beginning, you don't have a single man on here that is using dating apps. Why is that?
I can tell you that I had many gentlemen in my inbox saying, Paul, I wish I could, but I can't.
Because they're serial dating and they've got things to hide.
Yeah, they can't. It's a live action game. They can't. They can't be.
Yeah.
I'm
not gonna lie for them, because they can't be seen. They can't be seen in public declaring what they're doing. So you know the story. You know the truth. Yeah.
Just like these conversations are always happening with women, and we just keep going around in the same circles. It's like men don't want to input into these conversations. It's a bit frustrating. That's all.
I'm here.
No, I know, but you know, success story.
Okay, guys who are on Zoom, everybody who's on Zoom, I actually released you guys. You can unmute, raise your hand, and ask your questions when you're ready. Janet, you had a comment to make.
Yes, thank you. One more strategic question. After asking about what makes them happy, what makes you happy, it relaxes you both. He's relaxed, she's relaxed, and then later on, what makes you? You know, you talk about what made you happy. What makes you sad or upset or angry?
100%.
So what about Dina's question about what if I were to ask your ex, what is your most annoying habit? Is that a good one too?
You could ask that. I don't know if I'd ask it on the first date.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd ask it on the first date, because it's, yeah, I mean, you could do. I don't know if I would, because everyone's trying to put their best foot forward anyway. But I would like to know what makes people happy, or when I ask them what makes you upset or sad or angry or upset, and what happens. What happens for you?
I find that question so hard to answer. What makes me happy or upset? I'd find it easier to answer what my ex found annoying.
But it's really telling.
Because my wife would ask. Because my wife will ask me questions like, "What's up? You all right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like, what's on your mind? I don't know. Nothing. I'm fine. I'm just not thinking about anything right now. But if someone's to ask me,
I don't know nothing. I'm fine. That was 3 different.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm not really thinking about it. I'm just sat here watching TV with my mouth open.
I get that, Darren. I think it's a man thing. There are times when we're not thinking about anything.
Yeah.
Our minds are just blank.
Yes. So it'd be easier for me to. It generally would be easier for me to answer what an ex found annoying about me.
Come on, Joy. You've had your hand up for half the show. You just broke up to that big laugh. Come on. What is it you wanted to say burning for the last 45 minutes?
Well, there was so many things I wanted to say, right? But I'm going to start with how I got onto Tinder. My son put me on Tinder.
Good boy.
Right. The reason for that was that he was tired of seeing his mum in position A. So I said to him, "What's position A? Mum, you're on your own. Long time." Right.
Oh.
I wasn't successful with Tinder, let's say. I came across all of the pitfalls that you talked about, the false, the fake, the scammers, the lot. So I just came off it. And then I went on to our time, more my age group. And then recently I met my son for lunch, and he introduced me to his new girlfriend. And I'd just been berating because he says, "Mum, how are you getting on?" So I said, "I've given up Tinder." He went, "All right." So I said, "Anyway, how did you two meet?" He says, "Tinder." Well, okay, I get it. It is a numbers game. And let me say that I've had a couple of nice dates out of Tinder, what I thought were nice. Only to find that one only wanted to have me as a spare girlfriend, let's say. Another one was an alcoholic, but hid it very well. Another was just too short.
Why short man them just can't get a break.
I mean,
Just
height
can't-
supremacy. That's what
Short
that
man
is.
them
Height
just can't get a
supremacy.
break. That's just so wrong.
I have to put my hands up, Paul. You know, the men in my life have to be over 6 foot.
And without any reason behind this at all, Andy, how you doing?
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna say I'm short for you probably, so that's done anyway.
Sorry, Andy.
I gotta confess, I don't do dating sites, and I explain why, which would lead me to a fear I have. I think courtship, for me, courtship is you get to know someone, and then you may find there's an interest and you lead that way. For me, dating sites, you already got a pressure. It's already put pressure. Oh, you know, rather than, you know, for me, things have got to happen organically. So, for instance, I don't think I have any issues with meeting people and with meeting women. My job, I have to be able to speak to strangers. So to strike up a conversation, if I can't, I'm gonna suffer badly in my job. So for me, having that art of conversation is not an issue. And for me, my theory is that when you're dating, I think maybe Janet said it, you're putting on a show. You're only seeing the best of me. You have to see, in order to understand and to accept someone in your life, you have to also see them when they're not at their best, when they're upset, when they're annoyed, when there's different aspects of them. And are you going to tolerate that?
But
I mean, it's no secret.
Isn't the
I'll just end here.
website just an opening to that?
But what I'm concerned about is the current pandemic we've got now, and people are locked down together. And you have people who say they love each other, they understand each other, they're in each other's company a lot longer than maybe they normally are, and they can't stand each other. Now, why are you not able to tolerate someone because you're suddenly seeing things that you don't normally see? Why can't you just say, okay, you work through it? Why sudden, oh well, all right. For men, say for instance, you know, you leave your socks on the floor, and that's going to irritate you to the extent that that's going to cause problems. I'm not saying that I do that or whatever. I'm just giving you an example. So I'm just saying about no one's perfect. So you have to, if you're going to accept someone, me first of all, I have to accept my flaws. I can't run away from my flaws. You have a choice to do that. But if you're saying you're going to be with someone, accept the whole person. Help, you know, I'm not saying you help them to work through it, but sometimes that relationship could be the catalyst for someone if they've got certain baggages, because especially if you've dated more than one woman, you're going to have an element of baggage if it's not been a good relationship. So you've got to accept the whole me, because I've got to accept the whole of you. So for me, a dating site and that introduction, you're ready, rather than, as I said, I feel that I can meet people in different guises and something triggers that, oh, I want to get to know you, and leave that way rather than a dating site. And there's a bit of an expectation and you're going there, you're presenting a false perception of yourself. You're keeping something back because you're afraid if someone knows that, it might have an impact on that. So that's my contribution.
Janet, just quickly, Janet, and I'll come to Stella. Janet, so what, and I kind of get what Andy's saying, and that probably has always been my view as well, that it creates this expectation. We all know why we're on the site. We're all there, you know, whether it's sex or whether it's a relationship, that creates a pressure, an initial pressure, which you don't get when you just bump into someone. You're not starting from that point of pressure. Real, false, not something to worry about. What do you think?
You don't. There is a pressure, but you don't actually have to take that on, because that person, this online dating is a way to meet someone, potentially meet someone that you could start the dating with, meet a couple of times and see how you go, to decide if you actually do want to go for a serious courtship towards your future. You don't stay online. You've got to get to meet each other soon and then start from where you are. And I personally don't present a false, you know, it's important to know yourself, because if we're not genuine with that person, then we're going to, and we pretend of behave in a way we think they want us to behave, and we're not being fully ourselves. I mean, obviously you don't share everything in one go, but bit by bit you open up your heart and your life to that person. If they earn that trust, then you, as you get to know them, then, you know, then things get stronger and stronger. The pressure, but if you end up if you start pretending, you keep pretending, you'll end up thinking, oh gosh, this person doesn't know me, don't really know me, are they going to accept me, are they going to love me for myself? Well, if you haven't shown yourself, they're not going to love you for yourself. So start being yourself, but don't show all of you in the first, have a bit of mystery and unfold as the relationship unfolds.
I think
face to face.
I think Stella can take us into the next part because she has a wonderful little story to tell. Tell us what your bit is, Stella.
Right. I think when we're all at a certain age, from what I can see on the platform and through the chat. Let's
24.
just assume we're all of a certain age, and I think it's just getting a lot more difficult to meet people outside of a dating site. That said, it's not just a dating site. You can meet people, potentially your life partners. I mean, I'm talking from my experience personally. Before I met my partner, who I actually met on Facebook, I had spent a good few years on the internet sites, spent money on internet sites, and never found sort of like the one. And then out of the blue, I could have found this person for free on Facebook, which I did. 12 years later, we're still together. That said, I know couples who've met on LinkedIn, would you believe? And again, I'm so sick and tired of people coming on LinkedIn, putting up content saying LinkedIn is not a dating site. Because then my argument is, when you go to a work Christmas party, potentially people meet there, potentially relationships are formed or whatever. So again, I think sometimes we have to open ourselves up to looking for partners, not necessarily through dating sites, but through other networks as well. And I think the Comfort just made me laugh, because everything she was talking about earlier on in the kind of guys she's met on the internet site so resonated, to the point of people putting fake profiles up, fake pictures. I had a guy who put a gorgeous picture of himself, what was supposed to be himself, and I saw him at the tube station, and I swear I just turned back and the date never continued, because what I saw and what I wanted to see were two different people. So again, I've had those experiences. And again, for those who are looking, someone I guess is out there. I said earlier on, it is a bit like looking for a job. I think sometimes we're not patient. We just want, to find this dream guy. I had a whole list of expectations, and the person I ended up with, he didn't actually tick a lot of my list, if you like, but we are together. So again, I think, we have to find certain, I guess I'm talking about expectations, basically. There's certain expectations that we want and that we want from the other person. Sometimes it gels and sometimes it doesn't. But again, I found a lot of what everybody has been talking about, especially the panel, I resonate with, because I've gone through that system of online dating.
So I think, and one of the questions that I had sent to my panel guest, which I'm happy for other people to speak on, which is kind of what Stella just talked about, is the fact that we live in a digital age. We're online a lot of the time, and a lot of the old ways, I'm told that before I came to the UK, house parties were all the thing, they were all the rage. People had lots of house parties. Your family would have other families over, you would have all these events where they were opportunities to meet people. And it seems those have gone away. And in my view, and I guess the question I want to ask everybody, is it not reasonable for us now to start to think of meeting people online via Facebook as a realistic way of meeting people? And again, I'm coming back to that thing about stigma. Yeah. Where there remains this ongoing stigma where, you're told, I know ladies object profusely to what they call to people, what is it called? Coming into their inbox?
Sliding into the DMs.
Diving into the DMs. There you go. Thanks, Comfort. You're my cultural consultant for all these things. But if we're on Facebook and you see someone, you admire the stuff they post, you admire their intellect, you admire how they look. Let's not bullshit ourselves. How they look is important. You've engaged in them in a little debate. Is it not okay to what's it called, slide into their DMs? That sounds so pervy, Comfort. I've got to tell you. Yeah.
Yes,
I think so.
yes, you can. But when guys slide into a DM with "Hi babes," "Hi sexy," it's a bit of a turn off. But yes, if you come to my DM, and I've had it, even when I'm in a relationship, I've had the odd guy come to my DM and say, look, I really enjoy your content, or I really liked what you talked about, this, that, and the other. And even if they had the intention of trying to chat me up or whatever, and I make it quite clear that I'm not interested, this, that, and the other, it doesn't mean to say that we can't have or form a friendship. So I have no issues, for example, people sliding into my DMs.
Oh dear.
But
say that again. Say that again, Stella, please.
That is my.
again.
I'm talking for me. I'm talking personally for me.
I just like the way you said it.
I haven't got any issues. People sliding, has Comfort said it, into DMs, having conversations, and I have engaged with different guys who initially thought that I was available, because I think now on Facebook I have made it quite clear I am in a relationship, but prior to that I hadn't. So again, some guys generally do make an assumption that you are single. If you don't say that you aren't, then how are they supposed to know? So why should I be offended if a guy is finding me attractive, this, that, and the other? Do you see what I mean? I think sometimes some women, we get on our high horse sometimes because we ourselves are not necessarily putting out the right information about ourselves, and somehow we get offended if a guy comes into your DM and gives you a nice compliment or whatever it is. It might just be a genuinely nice compliment. Take it for what it is. I think we're all old enough and sensible enough to sort of judge the sort of like fake people out there, and those who just want it for what it is, and to those who just genuinely want to form a friendship.
Can I just add,
in my opinion,
to what Stella said,
cultural concept.
that DM stands for direct message. It does not stand for dick monument. It does not stand for dick magnifier. We do not want your dick pics in our DMs.
Exactly.
If you're going to slide into our DMs, have the decency to come with a salutation. Paul will know how I feel about salutations. Don't come into my DM without saying hello or good morning or good evening or whatever time of the day is. Introduce yourself and have some manners.
Sometimes that's all a man has, and he's giving you everything. Technically, that's all he's got for you. That's all he's got for you.
That's if it's his.
No, but what going on what Stella and Comfort said, I think it's definitely true about the way we approach, because I guess we're all going to assume it's the man doing the approaching in these situations, and I think we can be open to these things to be able to meet a potential partner in these forums, and I think sometimes we may silo off these things. LinkedIn is for business, and Facebook is for my friends, and Instagram's for pictures, and then Tinder is for dating, and we just cut everything off like that. And in the real world, that isn't how, non-virtually, the actual world, that isn't how the world is. And I think we apply principles to say, an opportunity could be anywhere in other aspects of our life. So imagine quite a few people on here are entrepreneurial, they're self-employed. You would never say to someone on Facebook, don't talk to me about business opportunity because I'm just here for a laugh. It's like you would never do that. So you keep yourself open. But in saying that, the onus is on the person who's making the approach to understand the context of where they are, to read the room. So if you are on LinkedIn, you can't be saying, hey babes, in someone's inbox on LinkedIn. If they've posted something that you are genuinely interested in, then talk about that. And if you would like to meet them for a coffee to discuss the idea of it, even if you have got an ulterior motive in your head, be a bit slick, be a bit charming about it. Like, actually still talk about the article. Don't meet them up for a coffee and then they go, oh, so what was it you liked about what article? You're like, what article? Sorry, what? I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you know, be a bit slick. Same way that if you was at work, you wouldn't just go into the kitchen and just start talking to the person you fancied about everything and anything. You'd probably try to see if you could actually talk to them first, but otherwise you're going to have an HR issue on your hands. you just got to read the room, understand the context of the conversation, I think, and allow yourself a chance to, if they don't seem interested, to be able to walk away without creating this big awkward moment or being blocked or whatever it is, if it is virtual or in person.
Hi, Lorraine. I'd like to invite Lorraine to the conversation.
Okay. Hello, hi, good afternoon. Very interesting debate. Hi, can you hear me?
Very clearly.
Right, okay. And the caller beforehand preempted what I'm going to say. There is a way of approaching somebody if you're going to slide into your DMs, and it is basically be very courteous. I don't appreciate anatomy in my DMs, you know, and being introduced in that way. I think that's not where I'm at. I'm at on the basis of, yes, okay, not a problem, but let's start on the the guys that we're going to get to know each other and that sort of way. If you're automatically going to start showing off your bodily functions or anatomy, that tells me where your head's at, first of all. And it may be at, but you obviously don't want to make it so explicit. But that's my thoughts. And I've had a number of people approach me on Facebook because I'm a member of a number of groups that are debating groups. And a lot of them are in that, is that filtered messages file? If everybody knows about it, there's a message file where, which if you're not a member, you're not connected on Facebook, the Facebook will actually drop it into these inbox. And ladies, if you've not been in that one, try that. Look in there, you'll see a whole
don't look in there. It's hell in there, ladies.
There's a whole heap of people saying, hello, how are you?
Don't go there.
Yeah. And I must admit, not being anything, some of our African brethren are very forward, and about, what they want, their intentions, etc., etc. So yeah, that's my thoughts. Be respectful. That's all it's about.
Let's be honest though. I was going to say a gentleman, but I won't use that phrase. When a man slips into your DMs and his first opening gambit is a bodily part, he's not looking for you. He's not serious, is he? He can't be serious.
No.
Yeah.
He's serious about sex.
I don't think he's even serious about that, Janet. I don't know any guy who has been successful.
That's what I agree.
Mentally, I just don't think
he's not serious about sex either, because that cannot be a precursor to sex. that can't work.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would want to be with a woman who accepted that as something great in a strange, messed up way. If I was to send you a picture like that and you was going, wow, let's meet up, I don't think you're right in the head either.
So your strategy works and then it becomes our problem.
No, I'm saying so. No one should send that.
That strategy can't work. You cannot be telling me that as a strategy
I can't see how that works at any guy.
Mate, you're saying that two things. A, there are men who, in a normal circumstances of approaching a woman in real life, that's their game. That's all they've got. They can't approach a woman one way. So the fact that they've gone online and they've got to change their ethics slightly, they can't, because maybe, I remember going to clubs back in the day when you went to clubs and it was that age, and that's how you met some people. I saw a man go and just grab a woman to dance, and she danced with him. Now,
did he go to the middle of the dance floor, Andy, and pull out his genitalia and just show the guy?
Did they go that far? Did they go that far? But what I mean is, some men, they've got a game, should we say, and that's all they know. But I mean, you try to be respectful, and hopefully you think that's the way. But what I think the internet and those sort of things, it's a toy for some people, they've been given it and they have no clue how to use it. So there should be no surprise that some people get something. It's like, you see some children with a toy, you keep thinking, what are they doing that? That's not what they should be doing with it. So some people just don't know how to communicate on the internet. Once you've discovered that, it's up to you to deal with that the way you want to deal with it. I mean, my approach in life basically is to be as honest as possible and for you to make an informed decision. If I come to you and I start talking, you don't want to engage with me, we'll just say, sorry, I don't want to engage with you. I may be hurt. I don't want to be devastated. I'm not going to drop in front of your feet and start bawling and crying, whatever. I'll be able to move on. So it's not your responsibility to take full responsibility for my feelings. If you say no, okay, I like to think you say it in a respectful way, but I'll move on. I don't want to be led on and then later on you find out, well, actually you weren't that into me. So do for you, I'll do for me, and we'll move on. There should be no deception to it.
Look,
be clear right from the get-go.
It's been a fascinating discussion. I have to think that right now we have the most people in the Zoom that I've ever had on one of the shows, and I can tell you YouTube is just as full. People are enjoying it. What I'm going to do now is what I always do. I'm going to wrap this section of the show up, which means I'm going to disconnect it from YouTube, and I'm pretty sure we're going to want to continue this discussion outside of YouTube so that Joy can really express herself without having her social media taken away from her. It's absolutely fascinating. But you know what? More importantly, and I know somebody else mentioned this, I think it was Dan McKenzie from Nottingham, we need to have these discussions. We need to have these discussions. We need to stop hiding some discussions away from our community. And you know what? There are a whole range of wonderful men and women out there who are looking for partners, who are serious, who won't slide into your DMs. And by the way, ladies, just so you're aware, women do it too.
Yes.
We just don't complain about it.
But I'm sure women are slicker.
No. Nothing slick about it, sweetie. Just as callous. Yeah. We just don't complain about it. Yeah. Okay. But we need to be having this dialogue, and I think if there's one of a few good spin-offs of the whole COVID thing, is that we have a lot more time to be having these conversations. And that is certainly what I've been using this 2:00 slot to do. So thank you so much for your contributions. Don't go away. I'm just going to disconnect from YouTube and just say thank you to everybody who's watching me on YouTube and on Facebook. I've posted both in YouTube and in Facebook the Zoom link. So you're happy to enjoy us. We won't be here till 5:00 like we were last week, Sunday. I don't know what that was about. No one's got time for that. Yeah. Not us all. So thank you all, and I'll see you next week. I'm not even sure what the topic of is next week. Obviously, Comfort won't be on it because I haven't given her 4 months notice. So
2 weeks.
I'll leave it at that.
2 weeks. Let's
2
not
weeks
exaggerate.
notice. Yeah, like you have secretary. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I do actually.
I'll see you.